It's Monday, June 6, 2011. In this week's Beaker Beat, the FDA taking heat for medical device regulations. Is the European way better? More on that. Plus, the global drug market continues to grow, but find out where the future growth lies. And cars can make your heart race with excitement, and soon they may be able to check that heart rate and possibly prevent a heart attack. We'll explain. All that and more in this week's edition of Beaker Beat, brought to you by Allergan. To learn more about Allergan, visit their company webpage on Beaker.com. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Beaker Beat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. Well, we just passed our 100th episode at Beaker Beat, so Jeremy and I decided to celebrate by playing a round of golf. I don't know why you call that celebrating when we're terrible at it, but we're out here just the same. Here's this week's top story. FDA Device Chief Dr. Jeffrey Shuren spoke before a U.S. House panel last week regarding the medical device approval process. Shuren claims the recession created a more risk-averse investment environment that helped push medical device companies to launch in Europe, rather than its relatively easier path to market clearance. Republican lawmakers grilled Shuren, inquiring into the European system and if it is superior to the FDA's. He said his agency was not the sole contributor to pushing companies to launch products in Europe before the U.S. Shuren added he is, quote, astonished that some in medical device space are calling for us to lower our standards to those of Europe. It's not in our best interest, end quote. Shuren was adamant that the U.S. is not in danger of having the medtech industry flock across the pond due to a tighter regulatory environment, while still admitting that the FDA could better communicate with the industry. He was dismissive of a November 2010 Stanford University report finding that 3/4 of the cost of bringing a medical device from concept to the U.S. market is spent clearing regulatory hurdles. Quote, it's not a credible study. It's only 10% of the industry, end quote. This came during a sharp exchange with Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, who pressed the deputy commissioner to provide proof that the European system has a worse safety record than the FDA. Shuren countered that the decentralized system in the EU doesn't provide any public data regarding timeframes or decisions, and thus any comparisons are apples to oranges. Shuren closed his hour-long testimony by saying he believes the U.S. standard for medical device approval is something to stand behind, and that the FDA should do a better job in running the 510K and PMA programs. And here we go, Jeremy. Ooh. It's going to be hard to find. Okay, well anyway, tell us what you think about this story or any story that you see in today's show. Very simple, click on the orange button below us, a box will pop up, type in your comment, send it to me, I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. And when you're done watching Beaker Beat, check out Beaker's blog, where we have previews of 2 premier industry events coming up, plus odd stories involving a chemist charged with murdering her estranged husband by poisoning him with a toxic pharmaceutical ingredient obtained from her drug maker employer. And heads rolling in Arkansas, literally. Totes filled with heads and other body parts ordered by Medtronic get stuck at the airport. No, Joe Pesci was not delivering them in a duffel bag, but find out what will happen to those noggins next. Those stories and more on Beaker's blog. According to new numbers from IMS Health, average annual global drug sales will grow from 3% to 6% through 2015 to nearly $1.1 trillion. While that is a big number, it's down from the average annual growth of 6.2% during the last 5 years. U.S. sales are projected to rise by only 3% at the most per year. Internationally, the share of drug spending will shift quite a bit as well. The U.S.'s share of global drug sales will drop to 31% in 2015, down from 41% in 2005, while the top 5 European countries will drop to 13% in 2015, down from 20% in 2005. But the 17 far-merging markets, as they're called, led by China, will more than double in that time, up from 12% to 28% of total spending. In other words, those emerging markets will surpass the top 5 Euro markets and will be hot on the heels of the U.S. Time for some quick hits now, and my ball's in there, and I don't want to go in there. Fine. The FDA has advised medical device companies to take additional precautionary measures in checking imported products from Japan after the earthquake and tsunami that may affect the country's product quality. Concerns include radioactive contamination of devices or components, contaminated water supply that could result in defective products, and compromise in sterile products during or after production. Amgen will lay off 150 workers at its Longmont and Boulder, Colorado facilities by August 1st. There are about 850 employees in the centers currently. Shareholders of Biogen IDEC approved a key measure, with management support no less, to give them the chance to take an advisory vote on executive pay. George Scangos, Biogen's new chief, endorsed the move to let shareholders weigh in annually on compensation. Scangos received $20.3 million from Biogen last year, but he earned it as the company's stock price improved by 25% in 2010. More proof that Jeremy and I are in the wrong end of this business. Golden parachutes are being handed out after another pharma buyout. Teva Pharma is buying Cephalon for $6.8 billion, so naturally that company's top execs are expecting fat payouts. CEO Kevin Bushi, for example, could get $14.6 million, including $4.4 million in cash. Plus 4 other execs would get somewhere between $5.9 and $7.9 million each. It's a rough takeover for them. Pfizer is protecting its little blue pill by suing Watson Pharma. They want to prevent the generic drug maker from selling a knockoff version of Viagra, which accounted for nearly $2 billion in sales for Pfizer last year. A new report says the U.S. market for aesthetic and cosmetic devices should generate about $1.4 billion by 2015, tops in the world. However, rapidly growing demands in emerging economies like China and Brazil are expected to increase about 4 times faster than the growth rate of the U.S. market during the same time period. France has decided to stop paying for Pfizer's stop-smoking drug Champix. The treatment, sold as Chantix in the U.S., will be pulled from the government formulary of meds eligible for reimbursement because of ongoing controversy about its potential side effects, ranging from outbursts of anger to suicidal thoughts. Pfizer and Teva have settled their long-running court battle over Neurontin, ending a trial that had been underway in New Jersey federal court. The financial terms aren't public, but the generics giant will be able to continue selling its copycat version of the epilepsy pill. Pfizer had argued the generic infringed a patent that doesn't expire until 2017. Really? Jeremy? Really? Nice lie. Anybody looking? A little foot wedge. Oh, just made it worse. Get out of there. God. Now it's stuck. I need a shovel. J&J's Ortho McNeil unit has handed back the rights to Diamyd Medical's type 1 diabetes treatment just weeks after it failed a late-stage study, ending their $625 million licensing deal signed last year. Hologic will acquire TCT International, a distributor of medical products in Beijing, for up to $135 million. Cambridge, Mass-based Aveo inked a new development pact with Johnson & Johnson's Centocor unit for $555 million, with $15 million up front and up to $540 million in milestones. All right, time for our last story of the week. But first, let me finish this beautiful par putt. You just need a deft touch here, Jeremy. Oh, there was a hill there. Dang it. Ford researchers say they have developed a heart rate monitoring seat with electrode sensing technology that can check a driver's heart activity. The seat, being developed in Germany, fits within Ford's portfolio of possible in-car health and wellness solutions. According to the automaker, the idea is to help people with chronic illnesses or medical disorders manage their condition while on the go. Although currently still a research project, the heart rate monitor technology could prove to be a hugely important breakthrough for drivers. This technology even has the potential to be instrumental in diagnosing conditions drivers were previously unaware they had. Data collected by the sensors, for example, could be analyzed by medical experts or onboard computer software. Possibilities therefore abound, from linking to remote medical services and Ford vehicle safety systems to even providing real-time health information and alerts of imminent cardiovascular issues such as a heart attack. No word on whether or not that heart attack would come from the car payment you'll receive if you buy this vehicle. Finally. Okay. Birdies all around. That's it for this week's edition of Beaker Beat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And now it's on to the second hole. Exhausted already, Jeremy. Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.